Winter has seemingly arrived, and yet the Cardinals have remained red hot. Welcome into the Red Zone. I'm Kevin Jackman, and a near-perfect half of football propels North Central to a 49-0 halftime lead and a 49-6 win against Carthage. Head coach Jeff Thorne, defensive end Dan Gilroy, and tight end Alex Rose will join the show to break it all down. And we catch up with the women's triathlon team as they aim for yet another national championship on this week's Cardinal Corner. All that and more is next on the Red Zone.
The presenting sponsor of the Red Zone is Athletico, the preferred provider of physical therapy and athletic training for North Central College.
Welcome into the Red Zone. Head coach of the football team, Jeff Thorne, on the show with me. And Coach, going through this game, that first half was a near perfect half of football. The one fumble was, I mean, he was stripped on like the third or fourth effort there. That was Andrew Kaminsky, but that was not like a lackadaisical. You scored on every other drive you had, a touchdown.
Yeah, we had a pretty efficient half offensively, and defensively we were getting off the field quickly, getting us the ball back. So 49 points and 515 yards and a half of football was fun.
So there's a lot to dive into, especially with the stats as astronomical as they are in that first half. The person I think that really stood out the most was Ethan Greenfield.
Yeah.
At times, he was running through these huge gaping holes that the offensive line provided, but he was also running through, around.
Yeah.
He was impressive.
Yeah, I think our offensive line did a terrific job all day long, opening up holes for him and protecting Brock. But then there's still that unblocked hat or two that you have to account for yourself as a running back, and Ethan was tremendous. He has been all season, and even last year as a freshman. He just has an uncanny ability to keep people off of his legs, which makes him very, very hard to tackle. And then on top of that, he's physically gifted as a runner, but also physically very strong. So it's a pretty good combination. On top of that, he's got great hands and runs great routes, so he's the complete back.
And then you got that offensive line, which we mentioned, and it looked like they just knew exactly what was going on in the field on this particular Saturday.
Yeah, they did a great job up front. Carthage was missing one of their best defensive linemen. I think that played into it a little bit, but that doesn't diminish what those guys did. You still have to move people.
Yeah.
And they did a great job of that.
And then Brock, almost a completely efficient first half. He missed one throw, which we actually think was a completion to Matt Metz.
Well, you agree with me then.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have 1 foot in, he had 2 feet in.
Yeah.
And they called bobbling. There was no bobble at all. He should have been 16 for 16 at halftime.
Yeah.
Which would have been pretty cool.
But 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. I think that is a really strong testament to just how deep you guys are in the passing game.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that and Brock's ability to spread the ball around. He doesn't lock in on one guy. As great of a career and season as Drew is having, Brock's not just locking in on Drew. He's following his progression, and that's what makes him such a great player at quarterback.
We've seen Blake as kind of a deep threat this year, but this game in particular, it looked like he was more of a possession-type receiver with those 15, 20-yard throws over the middle. Is that add an element to his game tape that makes him even that harder to guard for an opposing defense?
It's he and Drew together, when they're on opposite sides, it's pick your poison.
Yeah.
Who you're going to try to roll coverage to, or are you going to roll coverage? And if they don't, then you should have a matchup in one of those two spots. D'Angelo Hardy poses a different threat too, and he's just continuing to get better every week as a freshman. So we feel really good about where we're at with our receivers, and then you're going to talk to Alex here in a little bit, but Alex and Tyler Egan have been tremendous at tight end. So we've got a wealth of riches, so to speak, in terms of skill players.
Andrew broke the record for most career receiving yards in this game. He came in one shy, and we were pretty sure he was going to get it. Again, we talk about him every week, but just to have him break this record 27 games into his career, 29 games, that's something special.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, like we've talked about the last couple of weeks, just a special player. We're going to enjoy the heck out of him for the last whatever we have this year and then one more season.
And then Alex Rose, how many times did you guys rewind the tape and watch that touchdown catch?
That was funny. It was a great catch. Great job of him. After it caromed off his chest, he bobbled it once and really sold out to make it a highlight reel catch. I think that's what he was trying to do. He just wanted to make it. He didn't want it to be simple. He wanted to be on the highlight reel.
It's like the basketball player that throws up a couple shots just to pad the stats with the rebound category.
Yeah. Or you miss one on purpose because you know you're going to get your own rebound.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, my goodness. We'll check the tape next. We also want to talk about the defensive side, but we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Check the Tape.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Arena Americas, specialists in providing full-service rental solutions for events and special occasions of all sizes.
Welcome back, and now it's time to check the tape. And this first play I want to get to, we talked about this guy, Ethan Greenfield, and I think this run epitomizes what we were just talking about, the ability to stay on his feet and do all these sorts of things. A 51-yard run here.
Yep, I mean, a little bit of traffic there, he bounces it out, and then he gets out here and makes a really nifty spin move. We saw that a couple weeks ago at Carroll as well. But then he's just breaking tackle after tackle after tackle and refusing to go down. It's
I think
just
he threw a dude there.
Relentless effort, yeah.
And then the offensive line, I noticed Sharmore came back on a block. This guy, and especially the entire offensive line, they can move. They can move out in space.
Well, that's Sharmore right there at the end of the run coming in, so it tells you how fast he is. You know, he's at the same point that Ethan is at the end of a run. He's just incredibly athletic for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch. Defensive line. This isn't, the linebackers did not factor into this at all in the run game, and that's what's most impressive is they just completely pushed the offensive line back.
Yeah, you know, a couple weeks ago we talked about building the fence, building a wall on defense, and each guy having their gap that they have to account for. And you see it across the board here. You know, all four guys doing their job, and their helmets are in their gap. And Cam Martin there, number 48, got his first start, had 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. Just a great performance in his first start, just, you know, doing his job.
Yeah. And then Dan Gilroy is a guy that is going to be on the show. But we talked about him last week, how he keeps showing up, but the stats aren't quite there. 2 sacks in this game. And it's got to be a reward for him to finally see that produce something in the stat sheet.
Yeah, well, he's the epitome of hat in your gap, do your job, because otherwise the defense can be compromised. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's as important of a defensive player as anybody we have on defense because of that. He's so reliable. He's accountable. He does exactly what he's coached to do, uses great technique, and plays with low pad level. The statistics will show up over time.
Yeah.
He gets 2 sacks here. Rewind to the Wheaton game, our biggest game of the year. Nobody played better than Dan, and he played on 1 foot. Had 5 tackles, 2 for loss.
Wow.
He's a great player.
Yeah. It's been a few weeks since we've talked about Brock Rutter in the Check the Tape segment, so we got to return to him.
Yeah.
But this throw, it's a tight window.
Yeah, I mean, he does something every game where I turn to somebody and just make a comment like, wow, that was really good. That throw was ridiculous. Great catch by D'Angelo, too, in traffic, going up and high pointing the ball. But he showed great patience here. The coverage, you know, spun on him a little bit, and he squeezed the ball a little bit longer, knowing what he had coming.
Just like you said, every game there's a throw, and you know, you go back to the Wash U game when he threw across his body, and you just went, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you see that in practice? Does he practice these kind of things, or did they just show up on game day because of the preparation he puts in?
No, it shows up in practice. I mean, you don't play like that on Saturday without practicing like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't. You hear people talk about he's a gamer. You practice how you end up playing, and we see that stuff on a pretty regular basis in practice.
Now, we didn't get to it in the Check the Tape segment, but Taha had a lot of pressure in this game, and one of those pressures resulted in an interception for Julian Bell.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that has shown up on tape a few times as a playmaker. Is he kind of an interesting little wrinkle in that defense that you guys could keep using?
He's extremely athletic. Didn't play as much early in the season because he transferred to us from Wisconsin Platteville and had to learn our system.
Yeah.
But he's got great feet, great change of directions, and just natural football instincts, which places him around the football a lot.
Yeah.
He came in our nickel package against Wheaton on a 3rd down and got a sack.
Yep.
And he's not very big, so he plays with every ounce of fiber in his body, and every pound that he's bringing to the table, it's all on display for him.
He looks like another one of those guys that likes to just fly around, fly to the football.
Yep.
So let's get to Elmhurst real quick. This is a Blue Jay team that is in a down season, but you got to go there, and the weather could possibly not be great.
Right.
What are you guys anticipating this weekend?
They're going to play hard. They always do. They're well coached. They've got a new coach. Coach McDonald was at Illinois Wesleyan the last couple of years as their defensive coordinator and did some great things there. So my expectation is they're going to be improving rapidly.
Yeah.
And, we're catching them late in the season, so we may see a better football team than what they were 3-4 weeks ago.
Sure. Let's get you out of here on this. It's Halloween.
Yeah.
Trick-or-treating is, of course, in full swing. What were your favorite and least favorite candies to pick up while trick-or-treating?
Least favorite would be anything related to black licorice. Most favorite would probably be either a Snicker or a Reese's, one of those two, maybe a Kit Kat.
King size, of course, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Coach, thanks for hopping on, and good luck against Elmhurst.
Thanks, Kevin.
Coming up next, we have a couple of real big guys joining me on set. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Jimmy John's.
It's time for the Red Zone's Play of the Game. And this one was a pretty easy selection. Just check out Ethan Greenfield. He compiled over 200 yards in the day, in large part to this 50-yard run. He bounces, he spins, he powers, he shakes his way to the Red Zone's top play of the game. Handoff again to Greenfield, and Greenfield bounces off one tackler and keeps on going. Shakes off another to midfield. Splits another pair. Still rumbling his way. Still loose on his feet. Down at the 20-yard line.
Back on the Red Zone, and a couple of big guys joining me on set. Dan Gilroy, Alex Rose. If you guys could lose like 6 inches, make me look like a normal-sized person, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Dan, actually, both of you guys, huge games in this one. Dan, we'll start with you. 2 sacks. You were chasing around these mobile quarterbacks all day as a defensive end. I know that makes your job harder, but I know that's probably more fun, right?
Yeah, it is more fun getting out in space and running around a little bit. Just we got to work on keeping contained, We're trying to keep him in the pocket. So, when he gets out of the pocket, you're going to go to the sideline, you're going to get yelled at a little bit. But, yeah, those guys were fast.
But that it presents a fun challenge for you guys because they're not just sitting ducks in the pocket. You got, Jalen Dennis and I think the other guy, Billy Dury, were moving around a little bit. They're more typical running backs or wide receivers. But you guys as a defensive line unit looked really good, stonewalling the running attack especially.
Yeah, just trying to keep our heads in our gaps, playing one gap defense, and then the linebackers were filling their gaps too really well.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot.
Talking to Taha after the game, he said that you guys had this meeting where you determined you guys wanted to trust each other. So the defensive linemen wanted to trust the linebackers that they would step up into those gaps. Same with the linebackers with the defensive backs. Did you feel like that helped?
Yeah, I think it kind of all just came down to love for your teammates, and we kind of just sat and we talked about just really just how much we love each other, And I think it paid off on Saturday. We played really well. So
yeah, 2.4 yards per play for Carthage. I mean, that's
lockdown.
That's minimal. Alex, you had the touchdown catch that I talked about with Coach. Of course, this has to be the first thing we talk about. What was going through your mind when you had that ball coming across the middle?
Yeah, so I just stuck my foot in the ground, running that post route, and Brock threw an amazing back shoulder throw, and I was just a little late getting my eyes on it. So I ended up going through my hands a little bit, and I was able to tip it with my left hand up high enough to where I was able to get underneath the ball and secure the catch. And, when I was tipping, I was like, I got to come down with it. It's high enough. It's done for.
So we were talking about, Coach and I, that you were just stuffing the statue. You just wanted to have the diving catch on the film.
Trying to get that highlight.
Exactly. How many times have you guys watched that in the tight end room?
I know I've joked around about 10 guys about it. I watched it myself 5 times, just kind of laughing like, wow, if I would have dropped that,
you would have been in the doghouse for sure.
Oh, definitely.
So we had Tyler on the show a few weeks ago, and you guys are the same age. You've been competing for the same position, but I just don't sense any animosity there because you guys both see the field. You guys are both so integral in the offense. How fun is it to grow up with somebody at your position group and have such a close relationship with them instead of being that kind of grinding it away, trying to take that top spot?
Yeah, I've never felt like that. We've competed against each other. So early on when I was struggling with the offense, I could ask Egan anything on the field, in meetings, and he would be 100% for it, wanting me to get better at the same time because we kind of complement each other, you know? So when we help out each other, it lets us both be on the field together, and I think that's huge for us. And like I said, it's almost like a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Never competing with each other about the spot because we know we're both going to play. We both have our talents and our abilities, so
I've sensed that special camaraderie between you guys and also in the tight end room because it seems like you guys are close as a group. Is that fair to say?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And fortunately this year, this is the biggest tight end group I've been a part of.
Yeah.
So the last few years, we've only had, 4 or 5 guys, and now we're up to 6 and 7 with some injuries. But it's great to have those guys and to be able to relay the information that we've gathered our time here so they have a better opportunity to play and, become the player they are.
So now on that defensive line, you guys are extremely young. I don't think there's anybody graduating at the end of the season,
Nope.
Which is an exciting prospect. We won't get into that because you still have plenty of football left this season.
Yeah.
But guys like Isaiah and especially Cam, who really flashed in this game, how exciting is their progression for somebody like you watching on the outside to see them progress in the middle?
It's kind of weird, like being a part of such a young group and being able to watch it develop from the outside, but also being a part of it at the same time.
Yeah.
Not often do you get to realize how special of a group you're a part of. And going through that right now, it feels like we really have that going on. So
it seems like it.
Yeah,
Watching, especially from the outside looking in at you guys, it just seems like you guys are getting more and more comfortable on a week-to-week basis.
Especially like how close we've gotten over this past year. You'd think that we wouldn't really be that close, only knowing each other for about a year or so.
Yeah.
But we're always cracking jokes with each other and laughing. So we've gotten really close over this last year, especially in the meeting room too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You guys ready for the quick hits?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, Halloween edition. Alex, we'll start with you. So, what is your favorite and least favorite candy when you were trick-or-treating? Maybe you still do trick-or-treat. I don't know.
Oh, it's been a little while, but I might have to go this year, put on a little bit of weight. But
free candy.
Yeah.
I would say my least favorite has got to be either candy corn or the black licorice.
Yep, those are very popular answers.
Yeah, those are no-goes for me. I'm tossing those out of the bag. Favorite candy, a little uncommon, I think, but Almond Joy.
Okay, that is probably one of the most divided candies ever because some people hate the coconut. I'm in favor. I like the Almond Joy. I like the Mountain Bar.
It's all right.
You're on the fence on it.
Yeah.
So usually the opinions are like polar opposites, but interesting. So what are your favorite and least favorite?
So I think my least favorite is probably Whoppers because.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
Because I was always thrown off. Just by the name because what is it, Burger King that has their Whopper? So I was so conflicted with like this little chocolate ball and then there's like a Whopper that you eat at Burger King. So
I never thought about that before.
That just threw me off, and I don't think I ever like really tried it until a couple years ago, and I didn't like it.
I can imagine you like expecting the cheeseburger taste, and you're like, this is not right. This
You got a Whopper in your bag?
Yeah. What about your favorite?
Probably just a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Yeah, those are
Classic.
lethal. Once you get going with those, it's hard to stop. Yeah. All right, we'll start. Best costume you've ever worn, Dan.
So, as a kid, I've done this like 3 times. I've won as the Energizer Bunny.
Nice.
And my mom like helps me make the costume. I got the pink onesie and like the bunny ears, and then she made the drum too with the drumsticks.
Yeah.
And then there was like a little compartment in the drum where I could put my candy in.
Nice.
So that one
See,
takes
your
the cake.
trick-or-treat bag was built into your costume. That is genius. Wow, that's awesome. How about you, Alex?
I guess mothers have a natural ability to create costumes because probably my best costume. Growing up, I was a huge like Dragon Ball Z fan.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Their main character, Goku, my mom like made a killer costume for me. Had the the boots and the bands. Had the yellow hair on my head.
The whole orange.
The whole orange like jumpsuit he wears. It was just incredible.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was running around thinking I was like a Super Saiyan or whatever.
Did you have the yellow hair?
Yeah.
Everything was up.
Yep, the whole 9.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the whole 9.
Alex, we'll start with you for the final one. What scares you the easiest?
Scares me the easiest. I would say right now when Coach Dansek asks how much I weigh, and I don't have a very good answer for him. You know, I'm getting hounded by him all the time. You know, I got to keep the weight up late here in the season. So I might have to go trick-or-treating, you know, get some of that candy.
There you go. Oh, my God, I'm dying over here, Dan.
That is a good one.
Coach Day, scary guy.
Yeah. I don't think I have a biggest fear, but I probably have a weirdest fear.
Ooh, do tell.
When you're in a room and everybody's sitting down and then there's one person standing up.
Yeah.
That just gives me, like, it makes my hair stand up.
So wait, even if it's not you standing up?
Yeah.
So just somebody you just kind of lurk. You don't like the lurker.
Yeah, just somebody. And if there's like a chair for them, like that's so weird.
Yeah, a little awkward.
Yeah, it's like
okay.
Just sit down. You know.
All right, we'll tell our cameraman to sit down. If you guys could just take a seat real quick, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Guys, best of luck against Elmhurst. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Coming next, we'll go to the Cardinal Corner. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is sponsored by Belgio's Catering.
4 years old, North Central's triathlon program has 3 national titles. A 4th may be right around the corner for Grace Miller and company.
I think it'll be cool if we do. I don't know, it's just weird. Weird to think I'm a senior.
Not too long ago, Miller was a freshman on campus, ready to kick off the team's inaugural season inside Centennial Beach.
I had never done a triathlon, so coming in, I was like, the biking part, I was like super scared to bike outside and everything. So now being a senior, it's kind of cool to take over kind of that leadership position and help the other girls who like haven't had as much experience in the 4 years. So it's really fun to do that.
Miller is the last remaining member from the inaugural team in 2016. Her experience has been a huge help for new members, including Maddie Skop.
With her being on the team all 4 years, she like knew what to expect. She's gotten a lot of the skills down and she's like a master at them all. So yeah, she's been a really big help.
Head coach Jenny Garrison has also been a critical influencer in getting Skop acclimated, as well as the rest of the top 5, which includes Annika Kottner, Molly Olk, and Cora Isaacson.
She makes it a lot of fun to come to practice every day. She as well has like strengthened my skills in so many different areas, which I'm super grateful for.
Thanks to the guidance of Miller and Garrison, Skop has a chance to become the Cardinals' 3rd different individual national champion in as many years, and it took a difficult decision to leave the cross-country team to get to this spot.
It was definitely a really tough decision. I had to leave a lot behind, leaving the track and cross-country team, you know, friendships, the coaches and stuff like that, but my relationship with them like hasn't really changed too much. I just don't see them as often. But overall, I'm happy with the decision because of everything I've learned and all the new friendships I've made.
With prior national championship experience, competing at the 2018 national meet in cross country, the moment likely won't be intimidating for Skop. It shouldn't. She'll be surrounded by a team that's been number 1 for nearly 4 full years, despite the sport constantly growing.
It's changed a lot over the 4 years, so I think that's the coolest part. We started out with like 8 teams our first year. 2, 3, making history! It was just kind of like, it was organized, but compared to now, it's just crazy.
Crazier will be going 4 for 4 in Miller's career, but it will be in reach when the Cardinals hit the course in Arizona on November 16th.
Welcome back into the Red Zone, and to close out the show, Sports Information Director Clark Tusher. And Clark, a lot of things are happening. You're kind of making that transition from fall to winter, and not only is the weather crummy, but I'm sure you guys are pretty busy at this time of year as well.
Yeah, the first year I did this in 2002, we had a 1-week break between football ending and basketball starting, and that's the last time that ever happened. So we're definitely used to the overlap and just trying to manage that. And certainly, giving the sports that are going to compete in postseason events their proper due attention, but also, we've got a lot of exciting things in the winter that we're looking forward to as well.
And a lot of contingency plans with football playoffs and soccer playoffs coming up that you got to prepare for. But I want to start with wrestling, because this is a women's wrestling wrestling, I should specify now. They just kicked off their season, their inaugural meet, and looked like they had a pretty strong showing.
Yeah, finished third out of 7 teams. Several of those schools have had teams in the past, so they were definitely fighting an uphill battle there in terms of experience, but wound up with 4 individuals in the finals and 2 individual champions the first time out, and several of them, it was their first, collegiate competition of any kind.
Yeah.
So to be able to go in and do that and have as many wins by pins and technical falls as they did, certainly speaks to how well prepared they were to get started this season.
We chatted with Yelena in particular for the preview piece that we did on the Cardinal Corner. I saw she won the championship by fall, and I think 36 seconds or something like that.
That's how most of her matches went. She's a legitimate Olympic hopeful at that weight class, and certainly showed it on Saturday.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Speaking of impressive, how about this? D3Football.com ranking men's basketball 3rd in the nation. I mean, they have the firepower. That's impressive.
Well, I think everybody's responding to how much they have coming back. They've got about 7 guys who played at least 15 minutes a game a season ago, and 2 fifth-year seniors in Connor Reardon and Aiden Chang. So, definitely they're starting at a pretty far advanced point relative to the rest of the teams. Really, and had a couple of situations with injuries last year that forced guys like Aaron Jones and Will Clausel into kind of expanded roles a little earlier than anticipated, and it wound up performing pretty well. So they've got an elevated level of experience for those kind of guys to fall back on as well. And certainly the success they had in tournament play a season ago, there's really no way to replicate that in practice. So they're definitely in a good place to start the season.
And of course, Connor Reardon looks like a preseason All-American, maybe even up for the top player in the country in D3.
And he's absolutely earned his way into doing that. He's a guy that we see in the gym literally every single day, whether practice is happening that day or not. He's always getting shots up or working on something in there. So it really isn't a surprise to see him elevate to that level, given the work he's put in.
Let's shift gears to women's basketball because they returned some firepower. They're still a pretty young team and an improvement over last year's preseason poll.
Finished 7th last year. They're 6th in the preseason poll this year. So certainly a team that was vastly improved from the beginning of the season to the end of the season last year. Coach Bax has had a full recruiting cycle to kind of plug in, some of the gaps where maybe she felt like they needed improvement a year ago, and players like Alana Newsom and Maitrese Smith, who played pretty prominent roles in their first year with the team, certainly back and improved and ready to become more vocal leaders within that group. So they're feeling like they've got a good base to start from and are ready to continue that improvement up the standings in the conference.
It's pretty crazy that basketball season's already almost here.
That hits us every year about this time. So yeah, we're ready for it.
Well, the weather's turning, which means that cross country's coming to an end as well, and conference is basically knocking on the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got the conference championships this weekend out in Moline. Both teams have been picked first in the championship polls of the conference's head coaches. Not a huge surprise on the men's side. They're going for number 46 in a row, which is a national record among all divisions for cross country. Which we get used to saying for quite a few things. But they really look forward to it as an opportunity. Since there's an open race, they have a chance to really. It's kind of the last time the whole team competes at the same place. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, it's a big day for them. And we're looking to a very competitive meet on the women's side. There's any one of 3 or 4 different teams that could come away with that if they run well on that day. Yeah. So definitely a hot competition on the women's side this weekend.
Should be fun to watch.
So it should be.
Let's get to your quick hit. And since it is Halloween, what is your favorite and least favorite candy?
The Reese's Cups are outstanding. Anything that really combines chocolate and peanut butter is really something you can't go wrong with. As far as the least favorite, it's got to be anything with black licorice in it.
You and me are on the same page.
Yeah,
on that
my mother-in-law loves the black licorice candy, so we just set all of that up to the side for her. So
it's got to be nice to like something that everybody else hates.
Yeah, I'm sure you can't beat the prices on the black licorice candy because it's not exactly flying off the shelves. But But yeah, if for whatever reason, that's her taste. So
It's like getting those variety packs, and like the worst thing in the variety pack is what you like. You just get them automatically. You don't have to fight for them.
yeah, it's just a separate bowl. You set it all off to the side. Have at it. There
Black
you go.
licorice, it's all you.
Yep.
Clark, thanks for hopping by.
Thank you.
I hope everyone has a happy Halloween, and I'll catch you up next week after North Central's trip to Elmhurst. I'm Kevin Jackman, and this has been The Red Zone.